I first want to welcome and thank you all. This is my first one in Real Academy. I got Elite back in December. And for those of you who don't know or who are new, once you become an Elite agent, you are then able to teach a course that you like, that they approve in Real Academy. So I've certainly been inspired by all the folks I've been watching since I joined in April of 2022. And I feel pretty honored to be among them today, to be sharing part of my story in hopes that it might help you. So without further ado, because I am the actor, here we go. All righty. This is a very relevant picture of my family. Last week, we went to Disney World. Those are my two daughters. I live and work in Falmouth, Maine. That is a town right outside of Portland, Maine. Portland is our largest city in Maine, though by most standards, it is still incredibly small. Maine as a whole is about 1.3 million people, give or take a few, depending on the summer season. And Portland is our largest market. I'm a runner, I'm a swimmer, I'm an uphill skier. In the last 8 months, I've also started hosting a TV show called Maine Life Media. You can find it on YouTube if you YouTube Maine Life. My shows lately have been called Off Season, and that has been a super fun way to kind of tie in my passions of acting, being in front of the camera, but also exploring the state of Maine, where I grew up, where I work, and where I love. I'm the team lead of Places in Maine. We joined up in, like I said, April of last year. I'm also a union stage actor. Up until last year, I did 1 or 2 stage productions a year. And I'd say right now, combination of my kids being kind of the perfect age where I don't want to miss bedtime and tubby time, and real estate, I haven't done much lately. And I've sold over 130 homes in my 5 years in this business. And I absolutely love what I do. And I think a huge part of why I love what I do and been able to do what I do is because I have fully embraced video in all forms and mediums. I'll also just say, I don't mean this to be a class where I'm just talking at you for an hour. So at any point, raise a hand. I'm going to try to keep the Zoom window up so I can see if you have a chat. But in the spirit of Sharon, who I'm loving, please throw in the meeting chat where you are from, just so I can get a sense of who we are all talking to. Maine. Thank you, Josh. It is so nice to have the support of my fellow agents here in Maine. Charlotte, North Carolina, right on. Utah, Houston. Oh, this is great. Thank you all for participating. Fort Worth, right on. Cool. And then throw up a 1 if you feel you do video all the time, or throw up a 2 if you feel like you hope to do video more in the next 6 months. Right on. Perfect. Great. 1.5. I'm down with that. I am down with that. Okay, cool. That will be those are my participation polls for now. Thank you all for being a part of that. As I get rid of the chat window. So as we jump in today, this is my agenda. I expect it to take probably 40 minutes, and then hopefully we have plenty of time to chat. We can learn more about each other. One thing I've loved about Real is just the ability to connect with folks outside of my market. I'll touch on it a little bit more in the presentation, but a big part of where I was exposed to all the video and all this stuff was when I joined Ryan Serhant's class in 2021 and really got to see what other kind of big time agents were doing in larger markets and thinking, we should do that here. And that's what I found in Real is we have all those people. So being able to learn and connect has been pretty amazing. So this is our welcome. I'm going to go in a little bit into David Mamet Knows All. If you don't know him, Google him. He is a writer, director, theater extraordinaire, and also just like a really intense human being. I still don't know how I feel about him, but I owe a lot of what I know to him and his lessons. Number 3, what's in your way? We're going to open it up to the group at that point. I want to hear a little bit from those who want to share. And then we're going to go into, is this acting? How to add technique, types of video to do, some video warm-ups. And then I'm going to give you some homework and talk about the next class. So this is one of 12 classes that I'll be doing. I hope you can join me for all of them, and I hope we can stay connected through it. Noted, Josh, no worries. All right, welcome. So I don't mean to get super hippy dippy from the start, but I just want to say, this is day one. Let's all start fresh and just take a breath. So secret, being a video guy, still super nervous to do this. This is the first time I've done this. So I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know how you're going to enjoy it, but that's what video content is as well. We record these videos, hopefully we hit post right away, and we put it out there knowing we could get criticism, we could get likes, we could get shares, we could get DMs, we could get silence. But what I've learned in my time is putting ourselves out there to our sphere, to our unknown sphere, and to our prospects. That's the tough work, and there can be great reward from putting ourselves out there. So I just want to commend you all. You are unique. We aren't anyone else. We are just us, and our perspective matters. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but I want us all to feel the permission and excitement to share our perspective. And lastly, we are enough. So just to go back a little bit into my story, I spent 4 years in undergrad getting my Bachelor of Arts in acting, and then I spent another 2.5 years at a conservatory in New York City. And when I look back on that time, that whole journey, in a nutshell, which was the most rewarding lesson, was I am enough. And I spent 6.5 years thinking I had to be something else or be someone else. Only when I stepped away from New York City to come back to Maine and auditioned up here with this release of pressure, because I didn't feel like I had to make it anymore. I had made a pivot in my life and then just did acting for fun. The most important lesson I got out of all of that was just to know that I am enough. And it's not always the easiest one to understand. And it took me a while to get there. And so, not that I want to shortchange anyone's journey of getting there, but just a great reminder that we are who we are, and the vibe we put out there will attract all the people who we want to work with and who we want to work for. This picture on the left is a fun one. That was on the rooftop of Ryan Serhant's office in Soho in New York City. I had just sat down with him for an hour as kind of culminating his coursework, and I got to interview him, make a video with him. And after I said, "Can I stand on your roof?" And he's like, "Go for it. I don't care." So that was me putting out the vibe on a billboard in Soho in New York City. If you're ever in New York, it's a really cool building. He's really open to having people there, and just a really, really nice guy. I will put that video in the chat when I'm done sharing my screen. Thank you, Josh. All right. Anybody, I'll just put it out to you right now. Anyone kind of have any reflection on, let's just call this day one, on your perspective, on how you're feeling about it, where you feel you might need to be? Thank you, Michael. Yes.
Chris, I'll jump in here. I just feel like, as someone relatively new to this industry, and as someone who's like kind of dabbled in social media up to starting the real estate stuff, I feel like a big hurdle or somewhat of a barrier for me in terms of just like putting things out there is that that analysis piece, like the analysis of myself and of the content I might be putting, even if it's like a picture. But then even more so when it gets to the level of a video, I feel like it's easy to get in that trap of like doing 20 takes on one topic instead of just kind of like releasing it and letting it be, and whatever it is, and however others interpret it, they might interpret. Not to say that, you don't take care in what you produce or create, but that's always like something like a bit of a hesitation, I guess, when I'm trying to put those things out, is other people's perception and my own perception of what it is I'm creating. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Alex. I think there's a lot, I talk with a lot of people about video, and I think, like, I had a moment yesterday where I just I had 3 ideas, and then the day got chopped up in a weird way, and suddenly I felt like this energy pull away from like what I had intended to do, and suddenly felt like I'm not there, or it won't be good enough, and so those little battles are common, and they happen all the time. And maybe, just maybe, through a few of these next slides, we can kind of change that focus. And then we'll always be there, let's be honest. But I think if we can find something else to lean our hat on for it, maybe that will help us kind of break through those. But I think that I'm taking notes on the, am I the expert to even be talking about this, and 20 takes. What do we do about that? So anyone else want to share? Alex, thank you. That was great. Cool. Well, I'm going to move it along. Feel free to jump off of mute at any time. We'll keep this going. So this is David Mamet. I wrote David Mamet Knows All. He's an acting teacher, writer, director. He has written some incredible scripts. There are a lot of famous lines you all probably know, like "Coffee is for closers." I went to his acting school in New York City after I graduated college. He teaches an acting technique called practical aesthetics. And I love this quote from him: "The task of any artist is not to learn many, many techniques, but to learn the most simple technique perfectly." And I hear there a lot when I listen to real estate coaches or podcasts. It's, let's not try to do 100 things in our business to get business. Let's do one thing and do it the best. I imagine other people have heard that echoed throughout any presentation you've gone to. And what I found in my training of acting is that same thought of like, oh, I've got to do this, this, and this. And once I broke into this technique, I really found it removed the guesswork. And the guesswork I'm talking about in this context is the guesswork of myself. Am I good enough? Am I the expert? Am I supposed to be up here? So that's what I'm pretty excited to kind of steal from that acting technique and see if we can employ that into our video as we put that forward into the world. So I know we just got into this briefly, but just curious for anyone who's new, Alex, you gave us a great one. Am I the expert? Maybe I take 20 takes, but feel free to open up off of mute and or just drop in the chat. If you're new to video, what's in your way? If you know video, what's in your way? And I'm just curious to hear from folks kind of other examples that we deal with in our daily life when we know we should be doing this. Feel free to jump in.
One thing that I get hung up on is like what to post. I think, I've heard a few of the big hitters in Reels say, treat it like a sitcom, 70% life, 30% business. But I get caught up in like even posting life.
Yeah. Thank you, Randy. And I think that's a good example right there of, we hear a lot of different things we should do or people do. And what I've found on the journey is try them all. One's going to work for you or not, right? But what to post, that's one I struggle with daily. The first thought when I wake up generally is I should snooze for 5 more minutes. And then it's, what am I going to post about today? And not to say I'm obsessed over it. I enjoy it. And I also see what it helps to do with my business. So Randy, thank you for sharing that. I'm not going to type these in live on the bullet points, but if there were 2 more out there, feel free to jump in.
I'll jump in. But before I do, I also took Ryan's class and met Ryan. I'm a little jealous I didn't ask to go on his roof, but but yes, it was very cool. I think my hangups are really, I am not somebody who naturally, outside of real estate, enjoys social media. And so like, I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but I sort of joke that sometimes, like, I feel like, am I on the spectrum somewhere? Because I feel a little autistic sometimes about like awkward. Like, I'm like, it just doesn't, it's not natural to me. And like, I heard somebody talking today about like, what do you do all day? Well, I'm busy doing it. And I always said that even before I got into this business, you know, when Facebook sort of was like in its infancy, and I would go out to dinner with friends and it's like, oh, we got to take a picture and we got to post. And I'm like, why can't we just not be present? And so I think that mindset, and I know it's a mindset, like I don't know how to get out of that. And I think that is one of my biggest barriers of posting, because like, I do feel like, I'm like, this is awkward. Like it's not natural to me to think, oh, I should post this. Does that make any sense?
100%. I think one, staying present is something I'm always working on, particularly at home with the family. And yeah, social media is so big that naturally there are people who A, resist it, or B, you know, frankly, like hate how much time it takes out of our lives. But I think what I loved about that monologue you just gave was like your perspective is so clear on it, which is interesting. It animates you, which is interesting. And like now I just need to hear more. So it's a great, you're here obviously because you're intrigued and you're interested in video. So thank you for being here. And so now I think it's really, you have the fun challenge of thinking, how can I put this perspective out there and make it work for me and work for my business and my time? Like someone might watch what you just said, Becky, and say like, oh gosh, you can't put that out there. People are going to think like you're awkward. Yet awkward people might think you're a saint, you know? And I think that's that can be a beauty and a huge reward of video, is that people then connect with you on how you are and you're not hiding it or keeping it out. But yeah, I'd say in general, social media, you kind of buy into it or you don't. And if you don't buy into it, there are other ways to still post video without feeling like you have to get in the wormhole. But that's a great one. Thank you. We had a couple come in on chat. I get nervous, I'll forget what to say or show my age and repeat myself. That's a great one. I think if you are on Instagram or TikTok right now, there is a man on Long Island or maybe Staten Island in New York who's blowing up the internet, who shows his age. I can't remember his name right now. Island Wide Realty, I think, but he's just become this guy who doesn't say too much and he's very simple spoken, and that started to work for him. But Donna, I want to thank you for sharing that. We'll try to figure out what we can do to help you figure out what to say. And then Farron, just a little intimidated by how many platforms there are, for real. And they tend to just multiply. What I need to post on which platform and videography techniques I need to be good at. Okay, awesome. I think in later classes, we'll dive into some platform stuff, as well as videography techniques. But we can always talk offline about that as well. And then Michael shared a video I can't wait to watch later. So thank you for doing that, Michael.
Quick thing. So I heard someone said this once, like just show your work.
Yeah.
Like Becky might be doing a CMA today. Let's say she's, you know, doing a market report for a prospect buyer seller. Just screenshot that work and share it. Like I actually was on the phone with an attorney friend of mine today, and we were talking about the market. And then afterwards, I just made this little video that summarized, I look back in inventory today compared to last year at this time, and we're actually up and mortgage rates are going down. So there's in the chat, just like a screenshot that I made. Those are just screenshots on something I was working on. And I ended up taking my video camera out and just doing a voiceover and throwing it up on the internet.
That's great.
But the concept that, you know, for me, I don't have the impetus to like want to be dancing on TikTok, but periodically just, you know, sharing my work or whatever it is I'm working on seems to be enough to get me out there.
Yeah.
Or keep me relevant, I guess.
When I first got TikTok like 2.5 years ago, if you look at my TikTok, I tried to do a dancing video because I thought that's what you had to do. And I mean, I crush it at weddings, not gonna lie. but that was a horrible video I did. And what I do right now, just to part and go into Farron's question too, is I'll make a video and I will post it to Instagram and TikTok basically at the same time through CapCut, which is a video editing app that's free. I'll also then go into my YouTube app and I'll put it up on shorts because they all tend to be 60 seconds or less. And that's kind of my social share video. And then if I'm shooting anything in landscape or even recording a Zoom, which I've done with Josh, who was on the call, that would go up like natively to Facebook, natively to YouTube, and go out that way. But just some quick tips and thoughts there. But this is great. This is so fun. Thank you all for contributing. This is a great group. Okay, so that's what's in our way. And I've had people tell me a lot as they've watched me on social and say like, oh, it's so easy for you, you're an actor. And, you know, I think what I really find is it's not acting, and it shouldn't be considered acting. It should just be considered you in any form that wants to take. So Michael, if you're a guy who crushes analysis and numbers and you can address that with an image that you created, I think like that's you, and that's what's exciting to people. Becky, you had brought up the point of like people asking you, what do you do all day? A day in the life video is a great way to re-engage with your sphere. Show people that maybe you are more than real estate. Maybe it's waiting with the kids at the bus. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's going shopping. Maybe it's taking 10 minutes to just be silent, whatever that might be. We're fortunate in our business that our lives are incredibly interesting because they have to be, because real estate itself is unpredictable, it is uncertain, and we wake up every day unemployed. So that right there is already the perfect script for the next Netflix show that is out there. Might be Selling Sunset, but hey, that's okay. The point is, there's so much already that our careers give us. I think what this class can be about is how do we take it kind of to the next level and just feel comfortable. Oh, it won't show my phone, by doing this. And that's just one technique, obviously the selfie video, other ways to do video. A passion point, something you're extremely passionate about. I recently traveled down to Florida with my family, and the airplane we took was extremely budget, but wonderful and plenty comfortable. And I just felt like in that moment that it's so nice to just talk about how easy travel is. I love representing other companies or brands when they've made an experience great. So while that has nothing to do with real estate, it's about life, and maybe someone else was looking to travel on that airline and they then will know, oh, okay, cool. I've got his endorsement. That sounds great. Or they could DM me, hey, what do you think about that? I had 3 different families while I was at Magic Kingdom DM me, was it hard? What was it like? How did the kids like it? And all I was doing was posting some quick videos of my kids running around in Disney on my Instagram in stories. And that created engagement from just being passionate about my kids. Perspective is a great thing to share about. So all these 5 bullet points, I think for me are something to tip your hat onto whenever you're like, what do I post about? I'll go back to Becky, your story earlier, just like having a strong perspective is interesting no matter what the content or topic is, because we have all grown to love strong perspective. You know, the boring and the mundane is not that interesting anymore, but perspective is very interesting to a lot of people because it's yours, it's uniquely yours, and it's no one else's. And I totally understand it takes a moment to get there to feel comfortable to share that. So start with something light. What's your favorite frozen pizza? What's your favorite place to get coffee? All of that can then lead to a question or a poll within your social media. What is yours? And then all of a sudden you have people engaging with you. I don't expect everyone to be like this, but when I get engagement, the chemicals in my body make me feel really good. And then I post more, and then I post more, and then people then engage with me about real estate, and then I get a new client and I get excited. So I think finding those moments of perspective to lead to higher engagement are great. Nature, man, I just love nature. I think it's, for me at least, being in Maine, it's something that's wonderful. I laugh now, like on YouTube TV, like the ads sometimes are just like, stay tuned for your Zen moment on YouTube. Why? Because clearly people like it. YouTube knows what everyone likes, and so that's what they throw out there, and people actually watch it. And then this one's for you, Michael. Don't dance unless you dance. And I think that's probably like TikTok's claim to fame, is everyone feels like you have to do a dance video. And while they're extremely fun to watch, there are bajillion of people on TikTok who aren't dancing at all and still being very engaging or educational, informational, or certainly providing a perspective on something. So I didn't want you to get into this class thinking we were going to have an acting lesson or jump into any script work or role playing. But I think kind of what I have found through all of this is we're not acting. We're just being ourselves. We're being interesting. We're being informative. We're being intelligent, and we're being fun. And I think that can go a long way to starting out in your video. Any other thoughts or ideas on kind of themes of video to help share you and your authentic self to your audience? Has anyone noticed how the numbers on the bottom don't line up? Because 10 minutes before this, I went and rearranged a bunch of stuff. My bad. Thank you for not noticing. All right, so I want to get a little bit into kind of the technique world I came in from acting and how we might be able to bring this into our world here. Because I think just to say to someone, hey, you got to do more video is not helpful, right? We need a starting point. We need a blueprint. We need a plan. Just like when we sit down with a seller and they say, hey, I want to sell my house. We inherently already know what to do. We probably have documents to give them. We have a marketing plan. We have our script. And I want our minds to be there with video. So if an idea is sparked, we know what to do. If someone, today I walked into my bank and one of my mortgage lenders was there at his desk, which he never is. So we started talking. He gave me a great fact he learned at a mortgage expo last week. I went into my car, I made a video about it, and I tagged him. And so just having the understanding and flexibility to be able to jump into video mode, I think is really important. So I'm going to give you the briefest synopsis of the acting technique that I learned, and I'm going to relate that to video. This has never been done before, so we'll see how it works. Thank you, Donna. Yes, we can follow up after. So a lot of people who are non-actors know about method actors. Raise your hand if you know method acting. The big stories lately have been Kendall on Succession, because I'm deep into season 3 right now, but he's a method actor. So that means he arrives on set, he's already Kendall. You ask him if he wants water, he doesn't answer you as the human self he is. He like gets himself into this character. Daniel Day-Lewis is another really big one. Now, what the actors at my school discovered, David Mamet, William H. Macy, they felt that technique wasn't sustainable. They felt it wasn't good for the actor's mind, body, spirit, and those people around them. I think I agree. And so what they did was develop a technique for an actor. So you could be on the subway singing to a performer. You could get off the subway, talk to your favorite pretzel vendor, walk into the stage, greet the crew, hop into your dressing room, get into character, do your show, do the bow line, walk home, be with your family as a normal human being, and then go do it again. In a way, it's kind of like athletics, right? We step onto the field, we know what we have trained to do. When we do it, we step off the field, we're not in sport mode anymore. So the technique focuses on scene analysis. You would break up the play or the movie script into small scenes where the actor, or the character rather, is focusing on one, call it an action. You would write out what's literally going on in the scene. So if I'm talking with Alex about, I can't pay my mortgage on my house, this is a very high intense drama. And Alex is my best friend who has a high paying job, and he's trying to help me figure out what to do so I don't lose the house. My action in that sense, instead of just acting like, oh, I've got to be upset and I've got to be down because this person can't lose the house. Well, that's obvious and might not be as interesting as, how could I get Alex to buy this house from me? Or how could I get Alex to figure out a way to sell this house and get out of my debt? And so we assign an action to that actor that through every line that the playwright has given me, I am performing that action every step of the way. Now, it takes a lot of breath work. It takes a lot of body work to be present in these moments, but then it really allows for me to pursue my action through Alex and witness his reaction and react to it in the moment, okay? And then it takes it a step further to relate that action to something personally in my life. I know I'm probably getting over your head right now, but as you can see, there's a huge amount of analysis that goes into it. So by the time you actually step up on stage, you know exactly what you're trying to get from that character. You've already memorized your lines, and whatever happens on stage that day happens because it's a new moment with every breath. And that's where the excitement to me studying this technique came from. While yes, we were repeating action night after night on stage, you know, his expression might be a little different one night. His arms might look different one night. There's an opportunity to be fresh and new in each moment. So what I loved the most about that technique was I felt it took the pressure off me to feel like I had to walk in there, be this whole character, misconfigure my body, change my voice, and try to do that night in and night out, regardless of what my fellow actors were giving me on stage. That is not interesting. What's interesting is being truthful in the moment and following that analysis and that technique. All right, have I lost anyone yet? Is anyone really excited to be an actor now? So then how do we then take that little snidbit I just took a 2.5-year course and put it into 4 minutes for you to go into video? And how I like to liken it is to, one, look at pictures of llamas because I find them to be incredibly exciting. But I take from that, okay, how do I take the pressure off myself to put video out there? So one way I think of my technique is when I think about the audience. Who am I talking to? More importantly, who am I helping, right? So if we just look at real estate related video, there is this idea that we can provide value through education to our audience. So I know who my audience is, and then I'm going to go into, okay, what do they need to hear? Well, I could look at the headlines. Maybe there's a housing shortage in your area. Maybe mortgage rates just went up. Maybe they went down. Maybe people are starting to waive inspections in your market. And I think, okay, so I want to educate my audience. I am going to talk about the rising mortgage rates. And then I'm going to say, how am I going to do that? 100 million ways to do that. But at least you have your topic you're going to talk about and you know who you're talking to. Now, here's where the technique kind of goes to the next level, and you can put your answers in the chat. But if I'm talking to my audience who I've decided are real estate fans, let's call it, and I'm going to educate them on rising mortgage rates, how do I want them to feel after watching the video? What do I want to leave them with? You can't be wrong in this answer, but feel free to chat it in.
Educated, safe,
Educated. What was the second one?
safe, maybe that they're making a good decision with interest rates.
Awesome. Educated, safe. Maybe, yeah, safe, also just like comfortable knowing that they know a little more. Anyone else?
Alex said reassured.
Reassured. Yes. Perfect. Now I know that's a small sampling, but notice how we didn't say, do they like me? Do they think I sounded good? You know, did I look okay? Was my background this beautiful stock image provided by Joe at Real Academy? So then if we have our audience, we have our topic, and then we kind of have our action, or as our goal is to make them feel educated, make them feel safe, make them feel reassured. We're ideally removing ourselves out of the equation. So if I can make them feel safe or reassured by delivering that content on interest rates to the audience that Instagram, let's be honest, or TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Facebook is going to put in front of anyone. Wow, I just did my job. Boom, post it, gone. That's one way that I've found to not think about too much. Did I sound good? Did I look good? Because I could still educate someone by not talking in like the most coherent way, but they're going to get the points. And now with technology, Instagram's going to auto caption it. So they're going to be able to read it. But does that kind of, I guess, jibe with you? Does that make sense in a way to how do we focus on what we're doing, not how we're sounding, how we're looking, or how we're presenting? Yeah. Because I think what can be really fun about this is, like anything, it's an exercise, it's a tactic. And through repetition, all the me stuff will slowly move away. And once we actually get out there and people see it, and Becky, your friends at dinner who want to take that photo and post it are next going to say like, you've been putting out some cool stuff lately. It's like, I've never seen your office before. And I feel like I know what books you have on your shelf now, and I love it. And that can just be a great way to continue to feel engaged with your folks and give yourself the permission to say like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it out there. Now I chose the example of just some real estate content because I think at the very least, that is one of the easiest things I would think for us to put out there. We're able to just spew stats. Like in my case, our Greater Portland Local Board of Realtors gives us monthly stats. And so that's an easy thing to just share. And I like to end my videos with, because I think sometimes we get started and we're like, what do we do? People just want to hear the info and then they move on to the next. So other types of videos that I think are great, my man Randy, I've got him on workout videos or workout photos on the stories. That's a great way to just, I do it myself. I think it's, again, trying to show a more interesting and well-rounded person. I think people also appreciate hard work and workout exercise, maybe making a shake or a healthy meal or anything like that can really work well. Driving weather report. I don't totally condone filming while driving. I've been known to do it many times, but I think it is a great way to just literally comment in real time about what is going on. Maybe you're at a stoplight, but you never know. Someone out there might have been in their office since 10 p.m. last night and they have no idea what it's doing outside. And you have just provided a ray of sunshine in the form of a driving weather report. An introduction video, I like to think of this as something you can do every 2 months. Hey, Chris Davis, for those who are new to my follow and haven't learned too much about me yet, just wanted you to know I'm here in Falmouth, Maine. I've got 2 amazing daughters, incredible wife. I love to go running and I sell real estate right here in Falmouth in Portland, Maine. If you have any questions, would love to help you. That's something that people love to see over and over again because it's going to change each time. And we should never take for granted the fact that people might not know what we do. If you've ever had a family member buy or sell without you, I mean, you would know. So putting that message out there, I think is great. I might have my grammar wrong on this. This is meant to be a post-showing reaction video. I just did one today because the line around this open showing at a 2-unit was just likened to a summer barbecue. I think that's a great way to just show what's going on, or maybe there was something about a property that you really loved. It shows that you're out there working. It shows that you have perspective on something. And it also just shows your face again so people can associate you with real estate. I don't know where you're all and what your houses are like, but in Maine, we see some of the weirdest stuff in some of these old houses. And it is so fun. Today, I walked into a apartment, had a bedroom. I was told the couple was in their mid 50s and they had like 47 squishmallows. Naturally, I took a video of it. I'm going to post that later. Not to invade anyone's privacy, but my children love squishmallows. So to walk into a 2-unit where there's one apartment where someone clearly has a religious experience with these squishmallows, I'll be able to use that at some point. And I found that incredibly exciting. And then lastly, I just have reaction to something strunny weird. That's my word for strange, funny, or weird. And I think either of those words is exciting or engaging for anyone. And a simple hook at the beginning of the video could be, I can't wait to show you this strange thing. I can't wait to show you this funny thing. I can't wait to show you this weird thing. Again, that shows a little bit of your personality. Might even be humorous, might be scary, might be sad, but it shows perspective and it shows you willing to share with your community. And lastly, kind of my mantra is just post. I don't have time to rewatch my video. I just post it. Do I have time to rewatch it? Of course I do. But I like to tell myself, I don't have time to rewatch that. That's 60 seconds. I could be doing something else to move my business forward or hang out with my family. As long as you know you're a person who doesn't say anything wildly provocative or inappropriate or illegal, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe someone else will watch it and be like, oh, that was awesome. Or that was funny. Or maybe you did a guffaw in the middle of it that you can then comment on later in a follow-up video. But I would encourage us all to kind of have that mantra as we move forward, hopefully stick together over the next 12 months of just post. So just to recap kind of where we are started with that technique, really what I want to offer up as something that's been helpful to me is remove the me from video. I think it's probably the hardest thing to do, but if you can define your audience, if you can define your message or script that you're talking about, and then figure out how you want them to feel, and that's where it can get fun. You might be like, I want to do a fired up video today, and you're going to find something that fires you up, and you're going to put it out there, you know? Or it might just be like, man, got out of that yoga class. I want to do a feel good video, and it might just be you not talking with the birds and the trees in the background, you know? So I think having that kind of 3 bulleted technique as you lean into what should I post and how should I do it will hopefully be a nice token for you to take forward. Just to take it to the next level, I love to do video warm-ups. It's part of just, I guess, what's been ingrained in me in acting. It's also a great thing to film. But if we can just always be prepared when the spirit moves us to post a video, sounds silly, but warming up your mouth, warming up your breath, warming up your energy. Energy to me is the most important. I need to do something physical usually in the morning, and that could just be meditation, but I have to wake up that energy in my body. And that's something I really love to do. And that is something I think I put out over my video, which can be great. Prep your style. I think about my outfit every morning. Some days I get really dressed up. I have a live event I'm teaching later tonight, so I wanted to look really good for you guys in that. Some days I want to be like, you know, gym chic. And either way, I feel like they inform what video I may or may not do. And I think that's just how to keep it fun and not feel like you are putting a barrier on your ability to do video. And then just make sure you budget the time in your schedule to post. I mean, you might just do a bunch of videos about budgeting time to post and never doing it, but you're doing that video about budgeting the time to post. But that's something that's certainly helped me as long as I've made the time in the day to go after it. That's going to help me get there. Anybody do any of these warm-ups already? I mean, it can really apply to anything in life. It doesn't have to be sharing content, right? It could just be like, honestly, before I hit the phones, I got to do something, right? To get up and get going.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think energy is incredibly important. You know, if you go into it with the somewhat scared mindset, you know, you're always gonna, if you're doing it for video, you're gonna be intimidated to do the video and think it's gonna turn out bad. Whereas if you're like, I'm gonna crush this video, you're gonna be more excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. A quote I put in the description of this class, but one that really just motivates me every day, and I learned it from a broker at One Reel in October, was don't let someone's chapter 20 be your chapter 1. We're all on a journey wherever we are to get somewhere, and you're all here today because you understand the power of video. None of us are going to go viral tomorrow, but we could, but that's not the goal. The goal is to start building a video regimen, a level of comfort within ourselves so we can continue to engage more and more people with what we do, because the more people we engage with, the higher likelihood our business is going to continue to grow throughout it. And everything I've talked about today it's just free as long as you have a phone, which I'm sure you do. If you didn't, no one will be able to call you. And that's a huge asset in this business, is to be able to post all this content for free and reach a huge amount of people that otherwise you would really have to be paying a lot of money for in print, direct mail, TV time, or even digital ads as well. Wow. All right. I think now we have homework. So I've created a worksheet in an effort to get 4 more followers. I'd love it if you followed me, and you can ask a bunch of questions here. But when I've led some of these classes locally, what I've loved is just the accountability. Not that I'm going to be DMing you every day, where's your video? But Randy's a great example here. I met him in October in Texas at a real event, and him and I have just helped each other out daily. And that is something that's easy and doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes consistent effort, and the rewards can be huge. I will send, if you DM me your email, I will send you a just brief worksheet to start kind of making your thoughts concise. Over the next 30 days, if you can shoot for just 1 video, I'm saying reel a week, reel being on Instagram, but it could be on anything. And then do 3 stories a week on some talking point or perspective. Feel free to DM me for inspiration at any point or ideas. And I really, really, really hope we can continue to chat and grow together. We'll be back the 2nd Tuesday of the month. Next month, I want to go into, I'm titling it, Don't Become an Equipment Manager. It's kind of funny if you look what I have set up in this room right now for lights, but I think it's easy to think we need a gimbal and we need a microphone and we need all these things. And I think I've found my most successful stuff has just been my iPhone and my AirPods. And sometimes that's propping my iPhone up in my car, in a library, or wherever it might be. But we'll go over a bunch of different equipment you can use. And then Farron, I want to thank you for your idea on just videography techniques that can be helpful. So that's what we'll be back in a month. At this time, it'll be May. But at this time, I would love to open it up to questions, comments, concerns. I am an open book. I am so grateful you all showed up today. It really means a lot that you took a whole hour out of your busy life and your busy career. I hope you've learned something, or at the very least have something you can take away from this. But anything I can answer. We got 10 minutes, and I'm happy to use all of it.
Well, one of your bullet points was define your audience. Obviously, you know, our main goal is to, I would assume our main goal is to try and get business from our social media, not necessarily catch up with our moms. How are you defining your audience in your local market?
Great question. I'll relate it to a very real moment right now. So myself, a lender, and an insurance agent are leading a first-time buyers class tonight. We did one back in April during a snowstorm, very low attendance. And we noticed the one tonight is also having low attendance. And I was talking with another lender about him wanting to do one, but he was like, I've been hearing that just no one is showing up to these. And I think there's a little bit post-COVID, like there's just less activity of events. I can see that in the theater here in Portland as well, but that made me think, okay, what audience do I want to go after? And I'll just broadcast this because I'm all about stealing from other people. I want to go after right now the downsizers. Because in my market, there are a lot of aging folks, a lot of people my parents' age, and I'm working with some in my neighborhood right now to help them figure out what to do with their house as they prepare to take the next step. So you'll be the first to hear this, but I had this idea this morning that I'm going to create. So that's my audience, to answer your question. Right? This might be real estate focused, but I'm just trying to get a little more specific because I want to gear my content towards those folks. So I have a shed in my backyard that needs to be organized. And so I thought I'd create a character. This is course level 3. Don't feel like you have to create a character, but I've already created it and I've already filmed it so people will know it. But it's going to be Downsizing Donnie. And Downsizing Donnie is going to live in the shed because he wanted to downsize. And so I thought I could create a whole bunch of tiny, hopefully humorous videos about Downsizing Donnie that might end with normal Chris Davis being like, if you're thinking about downsizing, please think of these 3 things. Give me a call if you have any questions. So that's one way where I feel like the first time buyers aren't necessarily jumping at the bit to come hear a realtor talk about what to do because the internet is full of information. But I think there's a demographic that still appreciates one-on-one meetings and knowledge because they don't believe everything they read on the internet because it's a generational difference. So be on the lookout for Downsizing Donnie. But that's one thing right now that I've been thinking of. I guess also if you follow me, I really like to connect with people about health and fitness. So I try to do a lot of that. So that's not to say at some point they're going to buy or sell with me. I just love to talk about it. And so if they're curious about my running or, how my wife and I like to eat or sobriety or things like that, I'm hoping to just create a healthy connection with folks. And if I can foster that relationship, it could lead to business. That was a great question. Did I answer it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you did.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe you could come visit Downsize Donnie.
Certainly. As long as I don't have to stay in Donnie's place.
No, you don't. No, you will be, we'll come up with your character. Righteous Randy will get the primo primary suite. Becky, how was it? Did you get some takeaways?
Yeah, I did. I think, just like all of these ideas to continue to spur me in terms of like getting in that zone is helpful.
Yeah. And I really think my zone is from like 8:30 to 10 a.m. Like that is my primo time. If I can hit that every day, that's usually when my anxiety or my, whatever's in my mind, my negative Nancy voice, like that's a good time for me because it's the morning, things are still fresh. I don't know, I just feel a little more like loose because I think once you get on with the day, you might hear you didn't get an offer, or you might have a tough conversation with a client, or you got an offer and like then your time is all taken up. So I guess if that's one more thing I could add, the mornings, at least for me, I'm a morning person, tend to be great. And so it's just finding that energy window for you too. Wonderful. What does your daily routine look like? What brokerage were you with before? My daily routine, it's a great question. I exercise in the mornings, Monday through Friday. Usually have breakfast with my family, and then my wife and I alternate who takes the youngest to daycare, who stays till 8:30 to wait for the bus for the kindergartner. And then I try to get right into some form of lead generation and prospecting for at least 90 minutes. That's my goal. And then I get into appointments. Morning routine is constantly a challenge. I think That's one of the things there's so much noise about in the world, and I'm always adapting and evolving mine. You know, I go from like, I'm not going to look at my phone until 9 a.m. to like, I'm texting someone at 4:45 in the morning. Like, why am I doing this? But I think what's most important for me is that I get some type of sweat or some type of energy moving in the morning. And right now that's just early morning fitness, because if I don't do it in the morning, there's no time. I was with a brokerage named Vitalius, which is a small independent brokerage in Portland. Highly reputable, big in the multifamily investment market, but they're not a franchise or a big name or anything like that. Awesome. Anyone else?
So one of your bullet points was budget your time to post. Obviously you've kind of come up with a bit more complex style of shooting than the majority of us, but how long would you say you budget for your posts?
I like to budget an hour, and honestly, like it might just be one video. And I'll split that up into buckets. If let's say I'm filming a YouTube video with a videographer, that might be an hour of actual like filming kind of on set. But otherwise, it's more of an accountability time block for me to make sure I'm out there on social. And an hour, I feel, allows me to reward myself if I need. So maybe there's a coffee break in that hour. Maybe there's like I got to text someone to get some inspiration within that hour. But it's almost like recess in high school that we loved, but there's work to be done still, as opposed to just 20 minutes and feel pressured. I don't like that. I like to kind of have the flexibility within that time to get it done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great questions. And then once you get going with it and you budget it now, my style is I make the video, I drop it into CapCut, I caption it, I throw a music track on it. I might edit it the beginning and the end. And I can do all that in 5 minutes or less and get it posted out. And some of that is just the mechanics of learning the app. The other is just not even watching the video I just shot, but sending it right into post so I can get it out to the world. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead. We are at time. Again, I want to thank you so much. You can always rewatch this class in Real Academy. Thank you all for being part of the coolest brokerage ever. Feel free to follow up with any questions. I really appreciate everyone who took time today, and just post.